It is Open Line and Monday night, and we are talking minimum wage. Jason Freeman is our guest tonight, and gosh, you guys have a lot to say, and I love it. So we're going to jump right back to the phone lines. We're going to start with Jesse. Jesse, thank you for being with us tonight. Go ahead with your comment. Jesse, the floor is yours. Go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Well, see, the thing about minimum wage increasing to me is I make $15 an hour currently.
Okay.
And, and I've been, working, since I was, young. So, to me, my first job, I made $8 an hour stacking lumber, which, of course, is more than minimum wage. But, it wasn't flipping burgers or, or working a drive-thru somewhere, and there are places for these, people to get better jobs that do pay better. But the thing about minimum wage increasing is, what about the people that are already there that, have earned that right? Are these companies going to pay, double our wages because the wage increase is doubling?
Right. Yeah, that's a good question. And Jason, what are your thoughts on that? Because I think it is a fair question that a lot of people ask. If I'm already at 15, if companies aren't mandated to do so, it's hard to believe that they will.
Well, again, this is how markets work. And Jesse, I think you're asking exactly the right question. And what we would say is that if you as a worker making $15 an hour see the minimum wage go up to 15, that you should go into your employer and demand higher wages. And the fact is that Tennessee is among the lowest income states in the country. We have leaders in this state, former governors, economic development people, who go to major corporations and tell them to come to Tennessee because they don't have to pay our people very much. They advertise you as low-wage workers to multinational corporations that make billions of dollars in profits. And what these arguments are designed to do is to pit one worker against another worker, instead of looking up at the CEOs and the very wealthy who are doing very well in this economy. And we've seen that even in the face of a global pandemic and a massive recession caused by it, that the richest people in this country continue to get richer. And so this is a small measure that would give workers greater bargaining power and lift up our ability to negotiate with the bosses for more money. And that's exactly what you should do when it happens.
All right, let's get back to the lines. Mike is on the line. Mike, you've been holding for quite a while. Thank you for your patience. Go ahead.
Hello, good evening, Carrie, and good evening to Jason, I believe it is.
That's right.
I was just calling basically to say that what's happening is amazing how American capitalism has it where a certain percentage at the top make what they make and pretty much dictate the laws and policies through lobbying and everything to affect the average person, man and woman's lives. But we tend to fight among ourselves. I've never understood that. When you look at that, McDonald's CEO makes $9,247 per hour when his workers are making $773. Dollar General CEO makes basically $7,720 an hour, and the average Dollar General worker makes $7.67. Now, if you don't see the disparity and things like that, I don't know when you will. The man spoke about consequences, the 70-year-old gentleman who's having his birthday. The consequences are that when you make a stagnated wage that's been in an effect since Ronald Reagan, pretty much, that's when it started, and that's why Republicans to this day hold him in high regard. But basically, when you're at low wages, when the GDP is increasing, but your wages are not, you almost have no other choice but to go to predatory lenders like Cash Advance America, Speedy Cash, and get into that whole spiral of pretty much predatory lenders because you're not making enough to make and take care of your kids and your needs. So you go to these people because they give you a lifeline, even though that lifeline is full of spikes, but you'll take it because it's going to probably temporarily save you from drowning. And that's pretty much all I got to say. I mean, it's kind of ridiculous, but I wanted to give you a comparison that McDonald's CEO makes $9,200 an hour when the average worker makes $7 to $9 at McDonald's. And Just like to hear what you think about it. And you guys have a good night.
Mike, thank you for calling in. We do appreciate hearing from you tonight. I'm going to get right back to another call here. Danielle is on the line. Danielle, thank you. Go ahead. What's your thought on this?
Well, my thought on this. Well, thank you for taking my call,
Sure.
both of you. And I've been on the hospitality side, and I finally, during COVID, had to quit. So I am no longer in the hospitality industry. But if you raise the minimum wage to $15 an hour, which I've lived in South Korea, and you order with computers. So if you raise that minimum wage to $15, they're then going to cut their employees. So it's going to be less staff. And I mean, and that's how it was there. I mean, they're paid hourly, and you order with the computer, and you get a ticket number that spits out, and they call you. And there's like 3 people running a restaurant. So, and I mean, they're already doing that. And so, I mean, the $7.25. Absolutely. I mean, I get that. I understand that. I mean, I was a server for years. I made the $2.13 an hour. But with COVID and everything else going on, and the steps, 1 through 4 steps coming back, I said I just couldn't survive it. I just couldn't. So I left the industry. I have friends that are still in the industry, and they are struggling so bad. So I just think if we raise them, I would love the minimum wage. Don't get me wrong. There's people that make less than the minimum wage. I would love that they would make more than that, because it would help them. And I don't think it's a handout.
Sure.
It's a hand up to help them get up and have a better life for themselves. But I mean, if you're gonna raise the minimum wage, they're going to get rid of people and replace them with computers. They've done it in South Korea. They just do.
Well, Danielle, let me talk to Jason about this. Thank you for bringing up that point. And it is a point that a lot of folks talk about, Jason, that, people, especially small businesses are not going to be able to afford a $15 wage, and they're going to have to cut jobs, or other businesses are going to go computerized.
So a couple thoughts. One is automation is a whole separate issue, and we have seen over 25, 30 years the loss of jobs through automation. Andrew Yang, running for president, talked a lot about this. And one of the things that's broken in our economic system is that we increase in productivity, and that benefit gets to workers, right? So if your job becomes automated, and then why is the company is firing you instead of finding another job for you to do? And that's a problem with our economic system, period. And that's not because of the minimum wage. When you said that small businesses can't afford it, I want to go back to the idea of what Roosevelt said about that businesses shouldn't rely on subsistent wages. And this is something that I think people should really think about. If I want to go out and start a business so that I can become successful and I can make a lot of money, the start of that success should not, if that model depends on me working on the backs of people who are not able to survive, that is not a business model that I should be proud of. I should not be making my living off of the backs of people working for poverty wages, period. And I think that that's something that we are grappling with as a society, because we have way too many businesses that are reliant on poverty wages, and their workers are not able to thrive in this economy. We shouldn't be talking about surviving. We should be talking about people thriving. And I think that's the real point of policies like this.
Okay, let's get to Jim, who is on the line as well. Jim, welcome to the show. Thanks for calling in. What's your comment tonight?
Oh, are you talking to me?
I sure am. Go ahead.
All right, listen, I'm going to tell you straight up, in my opinion. Why is it that these companies are so afraid of paying somebody a living wage? You're talking $15 an hour. That is barely a living wage. That is what we should be talking about. We don't need to be worried about the big corporations, because they're going to do just fine. There's nobody going to starve to death on their wages. We got to starve to death on our wages. And I'm just saying, don't ever kid yourself. These people are not going to make their money one way or the other. The big corporations are going to make their money. I'm talking about the people that are doing the work and doing what they have to do to make sure that we get our groceries delivered, we get our pizzas delivered or whatever. These people need to be paid a living wage, and I don't understand how anybody could think that's a bad thing. And I'll hang up and listen to what you have to say.
Well, Jim, thank you so much. Jason, I don't imagine you disagree.
I don't. I just want to say, I think I completely agree with what Jim is saying. And that's the thing is, the fight for 15, by the way, that SEIU talks about is $15 and a union. And that's because we believe that every worker in this country should be able to organize into a union. And we're seeing, I think it's in Alabama, where Amazon workers are going to go to a union election in their warehouse. And what are we seeing? We're seeing the richest company in the world try to tell them that they can't vote by mail. They have to vote in person during a global pandemic because they're so afraid of what will happen if workers organize together and form a union. And so I think that Jim is absolutely right. These corporations, we should not be crying over what's going to happen to corporations. And that's ultimately what this is about.
Okay, we got to take a quick break, and we're going to squeeze in some more phone calls right after this. Stay with us.